Alright, what's up, folks? Let's see if my stuff is working properly. There's something that I do not know what that looks like. Let's see. Oh, that's chat. Never mind. I was like, what's that little red tag down there? But it's just Meta's name because I forgot I had chat down there. Anyways, hi guys. Forgot to turn on my light. There we go. We are on, I would say round 5, but looks like we've changed. We've shifted gears a little bit for our folded strategy. Let me just take a few more moments to get things set up here. So I had a morning class this morning, and so that afforded me less time to get set up for stream. But rest assured, I did some scouting on this puzzle and pretty certain about what I want to do here. So I don't know if I need to relaunch the game or anything. I feel like my borderless window application isn't working quite as properly because it's flickering every time I it's flickering every time I do that. So let me relaunch the game real quick because OBS captures it's not cooperating with me. Let's see. Launch window, other files, same executable. There we go. Hopefully that should work, because like my other scenes, as you can see here, relies on my folded stream working. So let me just make sure of that. That's the problem with streaming, of course. So let's log back in here. Hopefully that should work. Alright, that looks a lot better. My screen isn't flickering anymore, so I don't know what's going on with that. Probably should have fixed that before I finished that countdown timer, but that's alright. Let me just make sure that I'm all cut up here. It looks like I am. I hope I am. Oh, nice! Was it Freelancer? AO Freelancer? Nice. I'm glad you're streaming, and yeah, feel free to link that in my my cross promotion channel on the Discord. I'm pretty okay with you linking it here too. Just try to be courteous as always, because you know, not everybody likes that in their chat, right? So let me get to fixing this here. My setup is all sorts of janky today. How's it going? What's games? Right on time? Yes, indeed. Yeah, I for once scheduled a stream, which is what I should be doing, but it's been tough lately, especially with all the hiccups, and I don't know if I can do some guaranteed scheduled streams next week. That depends on how my classes unfold. Although I might be able to do something. Although Friday I have to go out for rotation, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Welcome in, welcome in. So this round of the coronavirus puzzles, puzzle series, we are not designing binders today. That is officially ended for now. So they are currently, as per the last blog update video, they're going to finally run some tests on some of the player designs that were either top scoring, or they just thought that would be a better thing to run it on. Let me just over here. It looks like it's a little off center. So in this puzzle, instead of designing our own proteins, we're still doing coronavirus research puzzles, mind you. It's just a different objective, and something that's, you know, obviously equally as important here. So, in the flavor text here, if you haven't read it already, it says to refold this coronavirus protein. So this is encoded in the genome of the coronavirus, right, in a region called ORF6. So what that means is that part of the virus's DNA instructions on how to build stuff, they've isolated this protein from the instructions, and we know the sequence. We know what amino acids are in the protein. We just don't know how they fold up, right? So it says that evidence suggests that this protein inhibits the natural immune response, helping this virus to survive and replicate. And so if we knew how this protein folds, we might be able to figure out exactly how it inhibits the immune system. The reason why this works right here, guys, structure equals function. All right, I can't stress this enough. When it comes to biochemistry, the way a thing is shaped is very, very much related to how it's going to actually function and like what it actually does. So that's why we place an heavy emphasis on, you know, looking at your protein and fold it and making sure that like the shape kind of makes sense from a rational standpoint. So moving along in the description here, the puzzle starting structure shows secondary structure predictions. That's what the SS stands for. From Cypred. Cypred's just a prediction algorithm. You put in amino acids and just the sequence, right? Just the letter sequence, and it'll spit out computerized predictions on what those structures might actually be. And so these will hint at which parts of the protein might fall into helices or sheets. Refold this protein to find high-scoring solutions, which will tell us how the protein is most likely to fold. Because the higher the score, the more stable your fold is, and the more stable your fold is, the more likely this the protein is prone to take that shape. Okay, that's the whole rationale behind stability. You're also given the sequence here in text form if you just want to run it through different prediction algorithms. That's buried in the puzzle description. So here we are. So this is our starting structure. I've changed the color settings a little bit so that we can kind of analyze this a little bit differently here. So I've got normal cartoon view as normal, and then I've set the color to hydro only. I'm still using show bondable hydrogens. I typically keep this on right here. And then for side chains, right now I'm showing all of them, and I've got show side chains with clashes or exposed tags ticked off, so we can look at this kind of just from an objective point of view here. I also hid the exposed tags. Like, this is what it would look like otherwise, right? And that's all fine and well. Sometimes they just get in the way or get distracting, so I tend to turn them off just so I can sort of look at these things without those distracting me. And I've also got turned off show bondable atoms because I don't want to look at polar atoms right now, though. So, how big of a change in form does it usually take to change function? That's not a question that I can easily answer, honestly. It depends. is my best answer, just like off the cuff here. But I can say that even one amino acid mutating into something else, right, can drastically shift how the end protein is going to form up, right? Like there's something missing or something that's changed or something completely wrong that's totally disrupting the entire sequence, and then that could change how the final shape looks like, and that's huge. But it really depends. Sometimes you'll have silent mutations, sometimes you'll have mutations into, say, another amino acid that's very similarly shaped, and it doesn't really matter. So, there's that. Now, prediction puzzles have a different sort of way that you gotta go about this in terms of strategy here. We can no longer go into design mode and change the side chains. We don't have any of the COVID-19 spike protein, so this is a different area here that we're talking about. So again, this is a different protein that coronavirus has, and it's said to play a role in suppressing the immune system. So we want to figure out how the protein is structured. We can use techniques such as X-ray crystallography, but that takes time, and sometimes people are occupied or busy with something else, or they might not even know what they're kind of looking for, and so they just kind of have to do it from scratch. If we can fold this in our simulation here, right, if we can fold this within Foldo, we can actually give X-ray crystallographers or electron microscopists a general idea of what they might be looking for, and that might help them to get the actual structure verified faster. And yes, this my broadcasts are all automatically saved for about I think it was 14 or 60 days. Let me check my dashboard here. Channel, yeah, store past broadcasts, and I'm a Prime user, so all VODs are automatically archived for at least 60 days, and I have been going about cutting highlights as well to save on my Twitch channel so that they don't get deleted, and they'll go up on YouTube as well. But if I don't, remind me, of course. I'd love to I'd love to get more on top of that, and you can find me on Twitter and Discord when you want to remind me of that. So anyways, back to what I was saying here. So we're not designing our own protein now. We're trying to figure out what this protein might fold up to be like, and there are several clues as to what we can use here. One, we can use the starting prediction structure. Like, SciPred is by no means perfect, but it's definitely a nice starting place to work with, because we don't know much else otherwise. And I think in the puzzle page, I think that one of the scientists posted the raw output. Also, the music that I'm using right now with Pretzel, I have it set to YouTube safe mode, so if like YouTube gets copyright stuff or if it gets taken down, just let me know, and then I'll probably forward that up to Pretzel and then figure out another solution for music. I've been downloading a whole bunch of overclocked remix tracks lately. I wonder if I could use those. Okay, so yes, post the SciPred prediction. That was okay, yeah. So the SciPred prediction that was posted in the comments by Dr. Kopnick here has confidence levels as far as like what the secondary structure might be, and so that can help too. It's not shown directly in game, unfortunately. We don't have a way to kind of visualize that in game, but it should be noted that if we go into structure mode, right, you can hit 2 on your keyboard, or just do that. Then you can see that we can still change the structures. Let's say if I want that to be a helix, or a sheet rather, then I can change the helix to a sheet, no problem. I can extend the helix if I wanted to, or not. And then it's stuff like that, so let's see here. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna take an educated guess, and usually, junctions between secondary structures are somewhere between like 2 and 5 segments, so I'm going to use maybe 3 segments too. I'm also going to shake things loose. Looks like I already did that earlier, so just to see how the side chains would extend in their current position. I'm going to tag this as helix, right, and then I'm just going to tag the rest of this as a helix as well, and then maybe copy whatever's going on here. So that's like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, and 4 up here, so we'll just do that. And then go back into normal mode here, full mode, I suppose. Press 1 on your keyboard if you want to do that quickly. Right click, and then hit Ideal SS to make our second helix, which is considerably shorter. And right now, I'm just doing a lot of scouting, right? I don't even know how this protein is supposed to fold here, and so my best solution might not be your best solution, and might not be the person at the top of the leaderboard's best solution here. So looking at this real quick, so turning the exposed back on, orange side chains, these are hydrophobic when we're viewing it in this color scheme. These need to be buried in so that they're not exposed to water. Now the thing about proteins is that this might not be immediately obvious in Foldit, but proteins can go across the cell membrane and just kind of like sit there, right? Just like kind of spanned across the cell membrane. We call those transmembrane proteins. I wish I had a sort of, hold on. Let me open up OneNote here. Use my OneNote thing to kind of draw a crude picture and label it too. And then I'll share my screen in just a moment. Did I tweet about this? I totally forgot. I've been slacking. In all honesty, I've been beset by all sorts of different things. Well, the Knowledge Fellowship sure did. So. Thanks for reminding me. I've been focused. I've been split focused, if I'm being completely honest. So anyways, hold on. Let me get this working here. Give me a capture. One note. Oh, come on. There we go. Yeah, and then I should probably paint this to be representative here. Okay. Transform stretch to screen. That would probably be better, huh? Lock that down and let's take a look here. So, I've just opened up my OneNote notebook just to illustrate a point here. So, this green circle in the middle, that's this is what we're calling our transmembrane protein. And then I've highlighted the hydrophilic and hydrophobic segments in blue and orange, right? Because this is going to be, say, inside the cell, and then this is going to be outside the cell. The side chains on our transmembrane protein here, normally we'd want all of the orange side chains clustered in the center, right? This is what we've been harping on for quite a while. Not the case for transmembrane proteins. In fact, they've got orange side chains on the outside because on the outside they're covered by the hydrophobic layer here of the cell membrane. And so these are just like, you know, kind of lodged in, kind of like if you stuck your finger through like the surface of a bubble and it didn't pop. It's kind of like that. So there's that. And so back to fold it here. I can get my illustrative aid a rest here. So as you can see, we've got a whole bunch of orange here. It's going to be nigh on like impossible to cover all of these exposed regions with what we've got. I'm just going to be, you know, completely honest here. It's pretty tough because especially since these orange residues, they're kind of appearing on both sides of our big helix here. Same with this helix. It's not really giving us a clear pattern of, oh, this is going to be, you know, the blue side, the other one's going to be the orange side. That's what you would normally do to identify where your helices are going to go. So there's that. Let me just check here. I was also looking back at the SciPred predictions, and in the middle of it, I'm assuming a 9 is like a really good, like, confident, okay, yeah, this is definitely a helix. But around residue number 21, we can find that if we mouse over a residue, hit tab. So around residue 21, the threonine, from a threonine 1, 2, 3, 4 to valine, looks like. The prediction values is 8, 5, 3, and 8. So not as strong. So instead of making this one big giant mega helix, I might just say, you know what, this might be a loop. This might be a loop in between, and it's actually two helices. This is another thing of, you don't always have to trust the SciPred algorithm here. You can make some judgment calls based on what you see. And so if I separate this right now, you can see that we've kind of sort of got a blue side going now. We still got a very large orange side here. This one is on both sides orange here. So again, not a lot of stuff to work with. If you look on this axis, then we get orange residues on both sides. So I'm really thinking at this point that this protein is actually transmembrane, and we're not necessarily playing with the classic rules of folded, as it were. You can still play with the classic rules of folded, of course, for the big points, and I encourage you to do that. But yeah, that's this is one of those instances where knowing the science and mixing that into the metagame, because the metagame is the science, can help you to create some, novel solutions that might not have otherwise occurred to other people, and who knows, even if it doesn't get on top of the leaderboards, you can submit it to scientists and say, hey, what do you guys think? And that's definitely a great way to get better at the game and to learn the science as well. To actually share solutions with scientists, by the way, I forgot to mention or go over this in previous streams specifically, but you just name it, so, test solution, and it says solution saved, and then when you go to open share solutions, it'll say local solutions over here, and then there's the one that we just saved. You just click on upload for scientists. So there we are. Oh, Seuss, you've actually found some news on it. So Circa found it on the SARS ORF6 protein region, or no, it's on the protein genome. Is this a protein chunk or an entire protein? Does it say in that report? The second part of Seuss's comment there is very relevant, which means, so it says it sticks in the endoplasmic reticulum / Golgi body membrane. Regardless of what kind of membrane, this is very much a lipid bilayer membrane. In fact, let me just look that up to verify. Golgi body. Because they're all like vesicular, so let's see here. Okay, yeah. I'm not confused with plasma membrane. If you're confused with the plasma membrane and it's made out of vesicles, then yeah, definitely we have that that membrane thing going on. So if it's sticking in that membrane, then it's pretty safe to assume that we've got a transmembrane region over here. So also knowing the context too, if this is like the entire protein or if it's just a chunk is pretty important too. Because for instance, right, I made this into a helix earlier, and it didn't give me a whole lot of obvious options, but it was kind of clear to me that this helix here is most likely more immersed in water than this helix right here. One of the things that I wish that we could like insert into Foldit as to have a reference is the length of, or like the length that it has to span to cross the lipid bilayer. I never actually looked that up, and it would be nice if we could have that reference in game, just to see how long transmembrane domains are. Let's see, length of a transmembrane helix. Average transmembrane helix comprises a length of 17.7 residues, or 27 angstroms. How far does this span? You can measure things and hold it by doing this. Here, you should go to change band length, and this is actually angstroms. Is that actually 20? Let me use a space band here. Actually, wait, no, that would not work. The length would be 0. Yeah. No, the scientists will still get your solutions. In fact, like it auto updates your solutions as you play. It will always get, like, scientists will always get your leaderboard scoring solution, and that will be included in the the filters, like when they do their computational analysis, they will sift through all that data, and that will include your solution as well. I'm pretty sure. Again, I don't work for Foldit. I am very much just as much another player. I've just been involved for so long that this is how I kind of know these kinds of things. But yeah, again, if you have say like a good scoring solution, but Foldit kind of did something silly with mutate, or it put something in the wrong place, then you can go in, manually edit it, and then hit send to scientists and say, okay, well, there's my leaderboard solution that you guys got. Here's one with some edits that I made. Here's the reason why I made these edits. Again, the science is the metagame. Learn it well. Let's see, what was I doing? Alright. Checking to see if these lengths are accurate, because I'm pretty sure they're not. I guess we'll have to go by, yeah, that's 20 as well. So we'll have to go by amino acid count. You don't know, have to find out. That's a little bit of a problem, I guess. Well, either way, this goes from 5 to 5 to 40. That's leucine, that's renal. So that goes from 5 to 40. So we have a roughly 35 segment helix going on in here. And then, let's see, 17.7 residues. Well, 17.7 times 2 is actually just 35.4. So if we split this down the middle in half, we would get that exactly. But we would need some loops in the middle to fix that there. So where was that again? The threonine 2, 3, 4. Yeah, threonine to valine over here. Let's reassign that as a loop. So this might actually be a little bit too long, right? And we can deal with that as needed here. All right, so we'll hit cut there. And now we can separate this and move it about, as long as we end up rejoining it later. Now helices are overpowered, but they're overpowered for good reason. Helices. Let's see. I should probably get rid of the helix here since that proline is there. Helices are one of the more stable secondary structures that proteins can form, right? And so when we use them in designs, we kind of take advantage of this fact because of these hydrogen bonds that it's making within the backbone here. That's the big kicker there. Let's see here. I think I might want to reset this to be straightened, just so I can break it out here of its helical formation. Let's see. Oh, I didn't cut this loose here. I should probably do that. There we go. Move that out of the way for now. Reassign this back to loop so we can see what we're working with. So this proline's going to give us some issues here, so I think I'll free it up from the helix for now. This is roughly as big as our one of our potential transmembrane helices, but I think this is safe to say that this might stick out in the water here. So yeah, let's arrange these things in a way that will hopefully make sense here. There are some very long residues here, namely the lysines here on both ends. So I'm gonna need to watch that as I try to put this together here. Let's make sure that we at least get the ends that are supposed to be bridged together close. So let me move this out of the way and then just kind of look at this from a top-down view. And let me switch to show stubs, and I think that'll help. Yeah, that helps a lot actually. So now we can see the orange residues that are exposed. And then generally speaking, we need to have this join up with this. It could be on any side of the protein here, so we're free to choose how that aligns itself. And so that's what we just kind of have to take a look here. Let me move it apart real quick just to see if there's stuff exposed. So on this one, again, we have all sides being tagged as yellow. Let's see, that's a shorter residue. These might these might form hydrogen bonds, like within, but we'd have to satisfy all of the bondables here. So let me turn that on. Let me reveal the side chains again and check this out here. Hi, Mike Cassidy. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. So we can probably try to, let's say, rotate this guy. The only problem is that I don't know if we can satisfy everything, because if we were assuming that everything's buried in, then we'd have to satisfy all buried polar atoms. Otherwise, we're gonna get as literally the scientists call it, buns, as in buried unsatisfied polars. I'm not sure how well we can avoid that here. Let me give it another shake, just for good measure. And full clashing importance, so that always helps. We do have some hybrid nodes and reds, but this is since it has to join up here, I can't just say like flip this over, right? And before anyone says anything, yes, I did wash my hands. We could maybe start a linkage up here, but it would be attacking this at very poor angles for hydrogen bonding, so I don't know if I can go for that either. I guess while it's being synthesized too, it doesn't have to be completely hydrophilic, but we'll see. Well, easier said than done. I have been staying home lately, at least, so there's no transmission for me, and I have been hale and hearty. We can form a bond there. Yeah, I was just going over that, Mike, and so I'm strongly suspecting that this is transmembrane, and then Susume posted that Circa found this being inserted into the Golgi body, I believe, and the endoplasmic reticulum. So this does have a transmembrane component. I think this is probably roughly the size of it, based on just like the quick research that I did, like the super quick Google search. So this kind of fits the bill as far as like average size of a transmembrane domain. So we can go, we can try that and see if we can maybe get some bonds to form. Looks like that lysine might serve us well here, so we can use that. And then it's kind of like the rules are flipped, right? Like if this is going to be the transmembrane domain, then these blue residues have to be, you know, with each other, since they're going to naturally clump up together, while these orange residues have to be holding the fort for the hydrophobic part of the cell membrane. So we just have to take that into account for our solution. So yeah, I think we'll go something like this, maybe, and then let's say at this point right here we cross the line and then we're entering the hydrophilic region, and so at this point the rules are back to normal. How's it going, Wise Noob? Good to see you again. Okay, so we have, let's see, 1, 2. only 2 segments in between that helix. We might have to free up some more. Maybe not. We'll make it work. But supposing that, like, this is the transmembrane domain, right? And then, again, this is the outside. We can probably make do with using this here. Let me check down here. Can I rotate this in a way that forces this to come out at a better angle? Probably. Probably gonna lose the bonds that we tried to create. In fact, let's see. Oh no, that was on the other side. There's the threonine there. I'll go with it. I'll go with it. And so if we have this jutting out this way, I think we can rotate it this way, and then now we can satisfy some of those hydrophobics. We'll fix this in a second, but I think this is the play. Now, would a biochemist probably have something to say about it? Probably. But the nice thing about Foldit is that we are actively encouraging diversity. As long as it's, you know, stable enough to form a decent score, then solutions can still be viable, by all means. This is going to be a backbone issue, so we'll have to resolve that, but I'll leave that sitting there for now. And I think this can bend over, this can bend over here, so that can link up that cut point, and then it's just a matter of fixing this region here. This proline's really throwing me off, throwing me for a loop. Let's move the backbone pin to the helix. Okay, that's still gonna move things as such. Alright, so just like in a design puzzle, we're basically done with the sort of rough drafting phase, right? Except we're not picking residues here. We're working with what we've got, and we're working with all the context involved as well. If anything, I feel like they should have added an objective to like identify like the transmembrane domain here, or added in like a membrane to simulate, since we have that additional information, and it just wasn't ported into the puzzle. But I don't think Foldit has done that in previous prediction puzzles like this, so it's kind of hard to get that ball rolling if it's never been done before, which is understandable. I'm gonna freeze my helices so that we kind of don't lose them. And let's see, I wanted to tilt this over here, this way. Here we go. Maybe shift this one a little bit to the left here. Give it another shake, just for good measure. And again, freeze will freeze the orientation, and if you're local wiggling, it will also freeze the location, but it doesn't anchor them in the same location in space, so we're going to need to use zero-length bands for that. So I just want my helices banded. The backbone only is fine. And now you can kind of see freeze it, that there are rubber bands inside anchoring them to their exact position in space. Okay, so let's give that a wiggle. And the nice thing about this is that since we've done all that, we can use global wiggle. We don't have to local wiggle to resolve our cut points. And this is another thing too. If you used Blueprint in the last puzzle to manipulate your secondary structures, you're gonna have to get used to not using it, because for some reason Blueprint is disabled during prediction puzzles. I have no idea why. Don't ask me why. I have asked this question before, and it's not been addressed. Although, if I think about it a little bit, using the building blocks in Blueprint might bias it towards like known building blocks, and we might not find out like new loops. It still kind of feels weird though, especially when we're looking for like score attacks and whatnot. like naturally players want to use what scores well, and so those ideal loops can be made very, very easily using Blueprint. Of course, if you're someone like Susume or anyone else who wants to manipulate the Ramachandran map, then by all means go into selection interface, and there's a way to replicate those right there in the selection interface. You just need to know how to use it, and her video is actually really good on how to do so. You're placed at 193. So let's see. I know in terms of arbitrary folded points, if you get above like around 8,000-ish, that's 0 potential energy. So that's like a good threshold, so to speak. Here, go ahead and bind those cut points and see if they can behave properly. Yeah, you definitely want the loops to be real, I agree, and so I've never like figured out why Blueprint is not allowed. We do introduce that bias towards known loops, but it's like, really? we do need to work with some level of realism here. This is not resolving itself here, so let's try local little and see if that fixes anything. I'm gonna unfreeze things first before moving to remove the rubber bands, because again, the way that Foldit is kind of working here, it's not in our favor. It's still trying to use like kind of classical Foldit rules of, hey, we need to hide the hydrophobics, when in reality in this puzzle we're not trying to do that, so it kind of complicates things. Remove the rubber bands, unfreeze. Okay, looks like I can't fix that by hand. Let's try our good friend, Quick Fix. There we go. Check for voids real quick. I guess we have this big void down here, which we could maybe try to shift that to the side, or possibly have this curl over. But I'm actually going to try and see if I can do this properly. Okay, selection interface. We need this residue to bend the other way. And for that, we need the Ramachandran map. Around there. I think that gets rid of our void. Still have our rubber bands set up, so that's good. Oh, and that forms a very nice hydrogen bond network right there with our histidine. Very, very nice. You're just going at it, Seuss. I don't blame you. This is again, transmembrane protein puzzles are very, very tough for new Foldit players to grasp. So I don't think I needed to read any of these. Well, I do need to take my afternoon dose of medication. Trying on 4 sheets and 1 helix. Wow. And are you also going for the transmembrane suggestion, Mike, or is it just, are you actually trying to bury all of your hydrophobics? Because I don't think it's possible with this puzzle. I honestly don't. You gave up on burning? Alright. Same. Okay, I'm liking how this is coming together now. If you haven't watched the stream before, but you've watched you've watched Bob Ross paint his paintings and whatnot, it's kind of the same way, where it's like we start off with something like, you know, completely unrecognizable. It's like, what the heck is he trying to paint? What the heck is he trying to fold? But by the end, we start to come together and make something that looks half decent. So I hit R on my keyboard, and that removed all of the rubber bands, and nothing's falling apart, so that's always a good sign. Let me give this a quick shake and see what else we can do here. To take a look at this here. Pick side chain, bend it that way. Can we form a network? This side, please. See, this is accepting, so this one has to attack, and I'm trying to have it attack that red node. Yeah, and since this is prediction, we're not doing any mutations. Let's see, what about this guy here? Oh, nowhere close. Okay. I have to give up on that one. Could try and make this serine work. Is this close enough for a pie stack? Probably not. It's on the same helix. What else can this thing take? Something like that. Ideally, it would probably want to be there. I actually want it to be like this here. Again, since we're working with such like poor conditions, quote unquote, here, trying to make what I can happen with hydrogen bonding. Yo, thanks for the follow. A pile of worms. I mean, that's how all of our proteins here are gonna look like at the end of the day, especially with this puzzle in particular. So shaking will clear that up. Actually, I did want to restore this guy. Just that guy. So I'll use selection interface to do that. Let's give it a wiggle, see if it flies apart. It doesn't. We get that bond forming there, and we don't have voids. This one's kind of small, so I don't really care about it. How's it going, Josh? Was busy doing science. For those who don't know, Josh is the one behind the official Foldit account on Twitch. Say hello, everybody. You know, before I do another shake, I think, actually, hold on. Let's see if it comes out of the wash if I use shake. Okay, the hydrogen bonds do not come out in the wash. I'm happy with that. I'm extremely happy with that. We don't form voids too. This is unideal, but okay. Welcome in, Dan, as well. Almost didn't catch you there. Okay, this is forming up kind of nicely. I'm not sure I like what's going on over here, since this is dipping back into the transmembrane portion. I might try to wrangle this elsewhere. Say around the side here. So like, let's see. If you don't want it to snap to something, you can hold down the Alt key. There we go. Somewhere around there. I'll use local wiggle to make this happen. form a hydrogen bond, I need this to curl. Just a little farther. Let's double the strength on that, see if I can make that happen. I actually want to be listening to this song right now, maybe. Remove local flies apart. Okay, really doesn't want to be there. Actually, hold on. Let me try a local fuse. Yeah, Born to Do stuff. If you weren't here for the first part of the stream, I was making the case that since there was a thing, how much longer is this stream? I'm planning to stream until 4, so 2 hours, two more hours, because there's a lot to sort of break down. But earlier in the stream, I was talking about how I think that with this many unburied residues, like with this many oranges, it's going to be impossible to hide them all. So when it's impossible to hide them all, we invert the rules. We propose the solution that this is instead going to be a transmembrane protein, and to have that, we actually want oranges on the outside because the middle of a cell membrane is hydrophobic, and so those orange residues will feel right at home in that hydrophobic domain. So imagine we cut a line across the screen like this. This is the cell membrane, and inside that cell membrane we want it to be mostly hydrophobic, and if it is hydrophilic, we at least make hydrogen bonds so that they're stable and there's not too much of a chance of water in here. But yeah, and then the last helix I made here, this wasn't originally here, but I thought, okay, if it's not making any structures, we might as well try a helix, because that's like, you know, the first go-to. Then we'll make a helix, span it across that way. Maybe it spans closer this way, but I'm not really too confident on that, so instead I'll just try to stabilize it with what we have right now. Let's see. Maybe if I ZL bead. Okay, I see the problem now. We're probably not going to be able to wrap this around this way, and so that'll leave those unresolved. That's okay. This proline is probably going to make it fold that way either way, so let me go into my undo section here. I at least want it to like not drag down into the transmembrane domain. Yeah, the again, those are transmembrane proteins, so those, instead of floating around in like the cytoplasm, which is again mostly water, and yeah, good call on that, by the way. So the cytoplasm of the cell, or like the stuff outside the cell, it's mostly water, right? But when we have those transmembrane proteins that its job is literally to sit there in the membrane, then we need to flip the rules. It also, yeah, you're right, it does have the large side chains here, and so those tend to bury themselves well. Oh yes. And I like how you use the game in air quotes here, because like this, if we're being completely honest, is a science engine ported into a game, and it's quite hilarious to see the challenges that arise with it. But you know, it works either way, and you can have a little fun. Okay. Still struggling to see what I can do with this rogue loop here. Chat's popping now. Meta invoking the rule of Michael Bay here. Welcome in, Cynaris. I don't know what you're saying no to, but welcome in all the same. Ace, how's it going? And that makes sense, Josh. That makes sense. It does look complicated, but there's real science to be had. This is what we're looking at here. If you are just joining us, of course. If what we're looking at here, if you're just joining us, this is a protein that has been found in the genome of the SARS. What's the official virus name again? SARS-CoV-2. There it is. Music's a little distracting. I can put it to some more ambient stuff here. Let me switch playlists. I usually like to keep it on like my upbeat or liked tracks when I start the stream, but yeah, we're kind of settling in now, so let's switch over. There we go. AC music. I don't want the VODs to be muted. I need to upload this to YouTube, Dan. That's not possible. Can't do that. The door's stuck. Let's unfreeze. Let's try a global wiggle, see if that resolves things, and it kind of does. I am still wiggling at low clashing points, so let's fix that. It is actually similar to SARS, yes. They are both coronaviruses. Welcome in, Okoto. Just to give some more context for that, typically when I do play other games on my stream, I run Foldit in the background since there's a lot of waiting involved for this game. It's still useful, Cynaris. All of the data that you generate while playing the game helps to validate the Rosetta model. Like, if nothing else, right? The game should be able to tell if good folds are good and bad folds are bad, right? And so, obviously, you're going to need good and bad folds to compare it with, and so scientists will still look at the solutions from lower scoring stuff just to make sure that it makes sense. Not necessarily with prediction puzzles, but for the revisiting puzzles, right? This Revisiting Puzzle 109 and all the Revisiting Puzzle series serves as a sort of benchmark to validate Foldit as a model. And so if you fold something very poorly there, the game should be able to detect it, alright? Wow, we got lots of new faces in here. Welcome in, everybody. How do you say your name? Is it Angel Leo? Angeleo? Yeah, thanks for following. And then let's see here. You got it? Well, I said like 2 different pronunciations. That doesn't help me. Then just those 4 to 8 folds. What do you mean by that, Cynaris? And yes, I did acknowledge the Discord shoutout. I have that up on my second monitor. And playing this game is hard? Well, right now, since I'm still sort of actively folding, there's a lot to sort of take in. But I'm good otherwise. Let's see. You have access to medium wiggle powers. Two for COVID and then others. Oh, okay, yeah. So let me just take an aside to say that this game does more than just coronavirus research, okay? This game is actually 12 years old. And what's games? Don't worry if it's not one of the chosen ones. Again, like, submit to scientists, explain your rationale behind it, and they'll it's not necessarily the end of the world if your solution doesn't get accepted. It's still a solution, and then the whole point with Foldit is to get a diverse selection of solutions for the scientists to analyze. Now, let me take an aside to tell you guys that Foldit is a protein sandbox game that does more than just the coronavirus stuff. Like, it's been around for 12 years almost, and it's done a whole bunch of other puzzles on different problems. In fact, one of the ongoing projects right now, which we don't have any puzzles in rotation for, is called the Aflatoxin Challenge, and in those puzzles, those are design puzzles made to re-engineer an enzyme that can help break down a cancer-causing toxin. So, let me catch up with chat here. Nakoda, we're trying to guess the structure, make an educated guess about the structure of a protein that coronavirus has. Oh, that's unfortunate. Should probably turn that off. Thanks for the follow. Yeah, the tutorial is very, very out of date, Cynaris. I do apologize on behalf for that. I mean, I wasn't involved with the creation of the tutorial, but the tutorial is really bad at that, and that's part of the reason why I'm streaming, is because there's no other, like, there wasn't any other, like, prominent content creators for this game when I started. So I thought, hey, maybe I should. You know? People have... Minecraft and Fortnite didn't have a clear tutorial, and yet people knew how to play anyway because they're watching other streamers. They're watching YouTubers, right? And so I thought, okay, I like video games. I like science. Let's give this a shot. All right, so now we're almost to the end of our early game here. We're going into mid game very soon. I'm gonna try a hand fuse here. 2015, dang. That's almost half of the game's lifespan ago. I am also talking a lot, so it's very important that I drink my water here. Joined about 5 days ago. Where are you guys hearing about Folded? I'm curious. Because I know we got a lot of traction from r/coronavirus, twice, in fact. So thanks, Reddit, you did it. But we've also been covered elsewhere too, and I'd very much like to see where the influx are going for. Hey, you like me enough to stick around? I appreciate that. Oh, thanks for popping the resub, Dan. Always appreciated. From a friend, probably found it on Reddit. Makes sense. Came over from Discord. Nice, nice. That's right, I do have my Discord status set to broadcasting. Oh, we have lots of new folks. That's great. I'm very happy that we have a bunch of new folks, by the way, because, you know, our active player base up until, like, now has been, you know, pretty small, pretty dedicated, and, you know, I'd like to do, like, I'd like to change that. That'd be nice if we could. This is well buried. What other hand optimizations can I do? Let me run... You know what? Let me run quick fix real quick. Let's see. I'm gonna make a new track here. You don't need to use this if you don't want to, but this is kind of like an advanced way to keep track of your solutions without muddling with your high scores with different folds. Let me go streams. Stream... And then now when I hit I, that should restore credit best, which is this. Okay, good. That's what I wanted. Quick fix and go. Imgur, nice. Yeah, no, Foldit does have some accolades under its belt. We have verified that some Foldit player design proteins that were designed without any real purpose, it was just sandboxing, but we have verified that Foldit player proteins do fold up the way that we've designed them, or the players designed them, I should say. So there's that. And then they also figured out the structure of a simian immunodeficiency virus as well. Oh, there you go. Wait, what was that link for? Although I guess the how did I think of it? Oh, the folded made proteins in the PDB. Okay, nice. You don't have to add bank to the end of that, by the way. The B does indeed stand for bank. How do you play more than just the 8 puzzles in the Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're wondering about the puzzle rotations, I take it. So right now, there's only 4 puzzles up. Well, 3, I guess, because this one's a sandbox. That doesn't matter. So Cynaris, the puzzles that are up right now, these are the puzzles that have active leaderboards right now. The rest of the puzzles here, when I click Show Expired Puzzles, those are like old puzzles that the leaderboards have already been finalized for that. You can still play them if you want to, but generally it's better to just move on and try your hand at these puzzles here. They're open for roughly a week. Symmetric timer design is really, really hard. I wouldn't recommend getting into this one. So, how's it going, Gary? Welcome in. So there's that. And then you can also go to the Foldit website and look through the puzzle archives, and you can actually download what puzzle that you want to load into the game to play. So there's that as well, if you want to look at other puzzles. But again, the ones that are like actively being looked into are the leaderboard rotations. And then the beginner puzzles, those aren't like anything new, like those have been around for a while, so they're just different ways for beginners to get into it. As well as the beginner puzzle for coronavirus, this is still the design puzzle. It is not the current coronavirus puzzle, but it is the design puzzle that was put up for the big video. You can do them for practice, but they've already gotten their data sets and they're analyzing through those right now, and so they don't necessarily need more at that point. So again, yeah, keep up with that. 8100, okay. Trying to keep the phobics inside. You might get a little bit more points doing that, just because of the way that Foldit is scored, and there are no objectives influencing the score in this puzzle. So I'm not getting any favors by making a transmembrane solution fold, and that's something that Josh, we need to address. So there's that aspect of it, and then yeah, again, you might end up getting more points than that, but there are some techniques that I haven't used yet that will improve this score even further. So right now we're still at the best here. It is hard. Folks, we basically have the resources of an indie game right now, as far as I'm told, so be patient with updates. Let's see here. I guess I could use blue fuse, but I'd rather switch into our first infinite recipe here. That's going to be Deep Remix. Let's see. Select to work on shakes only local. So you can just leave this on default settings if you don't know what you're doing here. I actually do know a little bit behind the scenes, but default settings are just fine for what we need. And the way that this recipe works, right? This is player made. This is a script coded in Lua that you can upload for other people's to use. It automates the process of finding better scores for your protein here. Now, there are different strategies to do so. This one's less random and more of a targeted approach. This one looks for like different parts of the protein that are scoring badly. In fact, let's go ahead and switch over to Score Hydro CPK. It looks for those sort of red segments and targets those and tries to propose different structures using the Remix tool. Which you can use by hand if you wanted to, but I don't always do. It tries to propose different shapes for it to take and see if it works better. Well, even if it isn't scientifically accurate, as long as it sort of makes sense like within the game's context, we can tap into that gamer intuition for possibly novel solutions. So. Wise Noob, I'm not sure what you're saying, but this sounds like a challenge, and I don't know if if the servers are prepared to handle that after the last Reddit hug. But, I mean, if we want to go full MMORPG status, then, I mean, maybe if we got more grant funding? I say we, I mean the Foldit developers, of course, but... What makes one fold over the other? So scoring has a lot of different stuff to it. In fact, let's hit tab on our keyboard here and get the scoring breakdown panel in a specific view here. So you can see that for every residue, and this adds up, right? Like they have a scoring breakdown with different categories. Clashing means is this too close to something else, and is it rubbing up against something else? Because we can't have two things existing in the same thing at the same time. So, pairwise, I don't know. Packing is if you don't have a lot of voids in between, if it's well surrounded, if it's an orange residue. Hiding, if it's an orange residue, it should probably not be exposed. Bonding is, well, you know, hydrogen bonding. Sidechain, I think that has some extra calculations that I don't remember what are. And then reference is, I think it's compared to what the reference bond angles should be. How much is this differing from that? And so there's more that goes into the score breakdown, but the long and short of it is that every residue has different categories of scoring, and this is all based on the engine that this game is running on. This is actually a scientific macro modeling engine. It's called Rosetta, and the full science papers have the complete, like, if you want patch notes, you got patch notes. You got the complete breakdown in those science papers, but of course you need to understand the science for that. So TLDR, we use the science engine. Oh, it's electrostatics. I see. So I guess that's polars. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright. So, anyways, guys, I'm not doing much right now to do this, right? Like, this is just... like we're in auto folding mode for a bit. So I love talking, but I need to take a break. Okay, so I'm gonna get more water. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, wash my hands, and then when we come back, I'll be here to answer more questions if you guys have them. So stay tuned, chill out, and then obviously Josh is here to answer other questions that you might have. So stay peaceful, everybody. I will be right back. I'm also going to roll some ads because I don't want pre-roll ads to be rolling for people watching the stream. I think those are dumb, and so I think a little bit of break time followed by you know, just some ads that are going to be playing while I don't have anything going on on the screen is not bad. So I'll be right back, and we will return to folding momentarily. Alright, folks, let's bring it back in here. Make sure that my music isn't too loud. And welcome back. Mike, what were those numbers? Are you trying to keep track of my score changes or something? What have you guys been talking about here? I've got chat on like two different things here. I've got chat like right next to my webcam here, and also on my tablet down here. So let's see here. Also, welcome in Uncle Bill. Always good to see our Premier Knowledge Fellowship representative, I should say. Yeah, the guides for the recipe list. I'm working on that. That's gonna be in my comprehensive video. Angelia, you're probably in late game at that point. Yeah, you know what? I should probably talk about recipes here since we're entering late game as well. Let's see what's games talking about here. I'll catch up. Hold on. I am in range. Let's see. Yeah. There's a lot that Folded is missing in terms of like keeping the solutions like scientifically like viable. And I mean, like, isn't that what we want gamers to do anyway? Is to kind of not necessarily cheese it, but like find the most optimal solution, right? Power gaming and min-maxing can be harnessed for some real good here, as far as we're concerned. And so, while they don't have like maybe all of the tools in place to make sure it's always like working as intended, stuff like this will help make strides. Hey, if the next paper that comes out of Foldit like really gets it on the scene in the NIH or any other funding organization or grant organization are just like, hey, we need to fund this, then they'll get funding, they'll get more people. It's all good. It's all good. Optimize. Yeah, no. We are in essence trying to min-max here. And that's why helices are OP. But we are trying to min-max here. It's just that we're starting with a blank slate. It's just like everyone's gotten the game on launch day and nobody knows what's the good build. You know? In fact, that's how I'd argue how it is with every puzzle, since we start from scratch. Obviously, we have like some pre-knowledge, like we're not completely in the dark. But it's kind of like, you know, going in on launch day, trying to figure out what classes are OP and whatnot, stuff like that. Alright. So I already went over TVDL and whatnot. Let me go over some recipes here. So I've got my my recipe cookbook here, sorted into multiple sections, and obviously I've got a meme section because there's some silly recipes that don't really do anything too useful. But the main thing is that I have recipes that I use during hand folding, recipes that I can let run indefinitely and just kind of like setting it and forgetting it, like an idle game. And I say that IDLE, not IDOL. And then there are some sort of later game one-off refinements that I might run. But yeah, hold on, let's see. Oh yeah. Like if you guys know, like if you guys code in Lua, if you guys know how to do that, then by all means, please try your hand at making recipes for the game. I know that one of our recent new players has started to do that, and it's promising. He's trying to make recipes for the early game, which is really ambitious. When I personally think the early game needs to be mostly hand folding with some recipe help. Let me talk about the recipes that I used during the early game real quick. Quick fix is exactly what it implies. It does very, very like small refinements, and it's really good for situations where you have, like, say a cut point that needs to be put back together, and you fuse it back together, and nothing kind of works. And if you're trying to fix this, Quick Fix does it targets the worst segments, and it uses like 3 different strategies to try and fix these ideality issues here. This is what that means, by the way. And to view this, by the way, the GUI, you might have to go into General Options and click Show Advanced GUI. And this is how you'll get this expanded view menu. Personally, I think we should probably merge the GUIs at this point. I'm not really sure. Also, dark mode is not available during the tutorials. Again, they're working on it. There are so many things to work on for this game. But yeah, in advanced GUI, you have access to all these toggle options, and then backbone issues is the one that we're looking for here. And when I see this, and I don't want to make drastic changes to my my backbone, I use Quick Fix, and it does a really good job of fixing these kinds of things without making too big of a change. Rosetta's actually made in C++, was it? I think it's just that Lua tends to be a popular language for like in-game stuff. I honestly don't know. Oh, well, there you go. It's commonly used for player-made stuff in games. Roblox, actually, for player-made scripts in Roblox, that is all coded in Lua, as far as I remember. And then I think a lot of the scripts for like World of Warcraft 2 was also coded in Lua. Alright. By the way, I hope you've realized this by now, because I'm on my phone playing a different game here. Folded is a great game to play in between other games, right? Like, say you're queuing up for, like, you know, Rainbow Six Siege or League of Legends, right? And you're just kind of like chilling in lobby. You can just casually, like, you know, start folding your proteins and then setting a recipe on and forgetting it later. And then just, like, in between queues, just check on your protein every once in a while. And then, you know, go back to whatever you were playing. It's really nice in that regard. Let's see. So anyways, yeah, Quick Fix has definitely done its job. This is actually a recipe that you can leave on forever, but it typically has a lot of diminishing returns after it prints this message right here, loop 2.0, it's time to stop the recipe. So that's when I stop it. I also stop it whenever I see that my problems are fixed. So, there's that. Let's see. And the other one that I used during the early game, zero length bands. So, what those refer to is that you can rubber band like two segments of the protein together, not like that, but like this, right? And these will pull on each other. But if I wanted to you know, drag it to somewhere in an empty space, then I can do that. And then if you wanted to drag it outwards and then drag it all the way back in here, if we use line view right here, you can see that the rubber band is still here. I guess I'm assuming that you're talking about graphics cards. I don't think Foldit uses the GPU. Correct me if I'm wrong. You might want to have it like run folding at home instead. The rubber band is exactly what it implies. It'll pull things to a point in space or towards each other. So if we go back into cartoon view. Right, so if I were to wiggle now, like these two things would be pulled towards each other. You can also do it to a point in space, as you can see there. Chemical killing that exists? No, it's just a tool. Just a tool. But what zero length bands does is it automates this process of making rubber bands and then dragging it back into whatever its current position is. So again, like I said earlier, when I was making my my bonds here, I wanted to freeze the helices here. But if I wiggle, you can see that they're actually kind of shifting around. They're not keeping their location. And so if I wanted them to keep their location, I wanted to use zero length bands. And then you can pick what gets banded here. In this case, I want my helices. And then zero length bands, after it's done lagging your game, it will create all of those rubber bands on the segments that I specified. And now they're actually going to hold in place while the backbones move around, right? So if I like moved this, only the rest of the unfrozen backbones that aren't zero length banded are going to be able to move around. No, I don't want to quit. That's Control X. Just going back to credit best here. So that's one of the uses for zero length bands. It's also good for locking down other things that you want to keep in place while you make score refinements. Oh yeah, disabling everything for wiggling, like the view options, is a good practice if you want to just kind of like try to speed it up. You can also just do that, drag it off screen. that has been said to help as well. You can hit home or Q to reset your camera, so that you can actually have something to play with here. Print protein is actually a way to automatically total up all of the subscores that I mentioned earlier. And so, like, you can see, like, what you're losing points to. In fact, we're losing a lot of points to hiding. Surprise, surprise. You can just hit cancel there. This one was for electron density. I haven't used this in a hot minute. Bridge wiggle is something that is reserved for puzzles with disulfide bonds. And I can't use it in this puzzle because I don't have anything to demonstrate it with. But if we did, I would use it to rubber band disulfide bonds together. And then blue fuse is one of the famous techniques, just in recipe form, of basically doing this. Set clashing importance down to low, wiggle. I think the fuse algorithm had a shake in there as well, so fine. So at like 80% clashing importance, we shake. And then we start bringing the wiggle power, or the clashing importance back up as we wiggle. So we go to 15%. I am not sure, Ace. Josh, do you know that? But basically, blue fuse is what I'm doing here is what you're supposed to do in control over clashing, and it is one of the premier techniques of Fold It to like stabilize your protein and eliminate voids. Bring it back, all the way back up to 1. A lot of people still get stuck on control over clashing, and it's understandable, but at the same time, it's kind of a good technique to have in the toolbox. So, let's see here. What did I want to do? So I've gone over early game for hand folding. So all of these like, these infinite runtime recipes, they have different strategies of doing what they do, right? I was using Deep Remix earlier, and what it was automating is this process here. I would right-click, hit Remix. Let's see, what's 3 to 9? Excuse me. Oh wait, no, that's two recipes. What about this one right here? Remix. This one? I need an example, preferably within my puzzle here. That'd be nice. But if I just did this, there we go. So what Remix does is it does this just like automatically. It doesn't have to finagle with hand folding here. And as you click the arrows, it chooses different chunks of known protein structure to insert that actually fits the criteria here. And they all have different score values. It takes whatever looks best, runs a fuse on them, like stabilizes it, and then compares the scores between them and uses the best one. So that's one strategy, is to target the worst, replace it with stuff that could work, see what works, and then move on. Another one is to just do it randomly. GAB stands for, I think, Genetic Algorithm for Bands, and it does kind of what it implies. It makes it procedurally generates critters, quote unquote, to randomly rubber band different segments of the protein either together or if we use the bands in space, the BIS version of this, then it'll pull 2 points in space, just like that. And then, let's see here. There's also random idealize, which if you click idealize on any, not idealize S, but idealize on any segment here, it'll force the bond angles to be ideal, quote unquote. These are like kind of the most stable and like expected bond angles that we would normally see. And in fact, we just got a little bit of points by doing that. But yeah, this recipe will do exactly what it implies and just randomly idealize certain parts of the protein and then fuse and wiggle afterwards. Now I think the calculations run faster, easier, but yeah, if it doesn't need to render the protein, then you're all good there. Random Idealize has a better interface for displaying what kind of gains it's making, so you can see the moves that it's making and how much points it gained, and then you can see like the total points that it gained on the right here, as well as like how many iterations it's gone through prior to making that. So that's Random Idealize. There's a whole bunch of other stuff here. You don't necessarily need to know like how every recipe works. And then, of course, if you make your own recipe, feel free. I would highly recommend explaining how the recipe works in the description. A lot of these recipes don't. I just had to find out through trial, error, and observing, and looking at the recipe output window up here. So there's that. Void Crusher does exactly what it would imply. We don't have any voids, so this isn't as useful here. But it makes rubber bands across voids and tries to crush them. Let's see. I know Susume is a fan of Banded Worm Pairs. That's a very late game recipe where your other recipes might not be finding as much, and then Banded Worm Pairs, I think it's like a I think what it does is that it crawls up the backbone and uses rubber bands to kind of like nudge things around so that Wiggle can possibly find some better solutions to settle into. And that's what Wiggle is kind of doing, is that it's trying to settle instabilities in the protein to whatever the current, the best state is given what you're telling it to. So, and then again, if we say lower clashing importance, then Wiggle will settle things into its best spot while ignoring the penalties lost from clashing. So there's that going on as well. It's a local wiggle? Oh yeah, that's true. It is local wiggling as well. I forgot. It's not using global wiggle. But overall, the action's still kind of similar, right? I hope I'm correct in that assumption. I have been streaming this game for 2 years, but there's a lot that even I don't know. Also, I don't think we need really messed with the backbone pins this puzzle, so I can just turn that off. I think that's like basically most of the commonly used recipes that I have in my cookbook here. It's not much beyond that. Like the other ones that have like slightly different strategies. I think Acid Tweaker focuses on refining side chains rather than the backbone. So. Oh yeah, there's one final thing that you should always do for your solutions that have reached your supposed score ceiling. And you can do this earlier in the game or later. It's up to you, but clicking medium on wiggle power forces ideality computations, so extra calculations into wiggle, and will get you more points based on the ideality stuff that it does alone. So right there, I was already at ceiling. I just wiggled and got, well, how many points? 86. So there's that, but you can also leave wiggle power on medium and then run your recipes. So in this case, let's try Bands in Space. Actually, I want to see how it performs with a non-anchored protein. That is a good rule of thumb, Josh. I agree. It does correspond with what phase of the game you're in. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, that's we do have to experiment. You know, just like you know, fighting game players have to lab and try to figure out and optimize their combos, right? Like, you know, and figure out what works. You know, it's the same in science. I mean, we use actual laboratories for that, but the process of discovery is something that's arguably the same whether you're playing a video game or doing science in that regard. There's just different formalities that you have to observe. Now, if you guys were like really looking for the whatchamacallit, if you guys were looking for the other puzzle, right? Like, I know we're doing a prediction puzzle now for coronavirus, but if you guys were really hyped about like having your protein design be the possible binder for coronavirus, the beginner puzzle is still active, so you can play that, and then you could always, you know, download the expired puzzles as well and try your hand at that. In the meantime, though, like, this is the only active like leaderboard puzzles that will have solutions to be like analyzed, so you're gonna have to deal with that fact as well. They might release more rounds in the future of the binder, excuse me, the binder puzzle, but for now, design is off the table, as they're analyzing the solutions from the first 3 and hopefully 4th round soon. Maybe Bands in Space isn't as good for non-anchored proteins, because in the design puzzle we had an anchored, like, locked in place segment, and that kept the camera from going off in who knows where. But yeah, we're just big chilling right now, so if you guys have more questions, feel free to ask them. You guys have been very, very kind to me this stream. I'm very much appreciative of having a chat to sit here and talk with. Totally fine. cross-promotion, networking, buzzwords. Always a pleasure, Uncle Bill. Thank you. Ooh. So like, you know, they send me pictures of their solutions, and then like I can point out what's going on with their fold. Yeah, we could probably maybe do that, or the actual file. Oh, okay. Would we load it in game or in standalone? They should be. I mean, it would be a waste to throw away the data, Robotic Mind. I know that on occasion some of the folks from the Institute of Protein Design watch my streams, so they could also be there for critiquing Evo viewer submission. But I'm groupless, dude. Well, the final results of those guessing puzzles... I'm assuming you're talking about... Wait, are you talking about the binder or this prediction puzzle? I think my Stream Deck buttons are a little... broken. That's okay. The prediction ones. So, like I said earlier, the prediction puzzles can help the actual X-ray crystallographers and electron microscopists look for the structures that the players expect, and then that'll help them verify the structure faster rather than just kind of starting from scratch, not really knowing what to look for. It's like, okay, it's a blob, cool. What kind of features of the blob are we trying to look for here? There's also, I think sometimes they rerun predicted solutions, right? Like high-scoring predicted solutions, and they will present it as if it was an unknown protein, but in reality we actually know that it was a player's proposed prediction, and it'll have it set up with like the same secondary structure tags, but this way we can find if there's decoys, right? We like with the same secondary structure tags but just arranged differently, and so that sometimes they do that with the prediction puzzles, but it depends. It really kind of depends. Let's see. That would make sense that Fold Standalone can load it no matter what. Yeah. Sometimes they straight up synthesize the unknown protein and then X-ray crystal and then run the structuring before like Foldit players even do so. And I'm not sure what the logistics of that is, but yeah. Oh no, rip! All the Twitch tabs closing. Never ever close a window without looking to see if you have tabs. Wait. Oh, you have an internal script for that. Okay, I was about to say, it's like, can I open Folded Standalone and open any solution? But no. You got the hamster wheel turning in my head, Josh. Hey, how's it going? Let's see. Trying to learn names here. Do you mind if I call you Laoi Sen? What works for you, friend? Leisha. Oh, okay. Cool. Well, welcome in, Leisha. You didn't close anything? They crashed? Oh my goodness. And you're not using like a multi Twitch viewer, right, Uncle Bill? You're not like Meta who like opens up, I think, Khadgar or something. You live Foldit? Elaborate on that. Been streaming it for a couple of years now, so there's that. Also, I'm going to change up the view options a little bit. I'm going to turn off our bondable atoms here and just make things look pretty. Just because we're not doing much of anything right now in terms of looking at the analysis here. One thing we do like to do is change the color to rainbow, and that makes it really easy to look for one end of the protein and then the other end of the protein. It's always going to be red and blue. So let that chill for a bit. It also looks better, like when I'm on breaks, right? The rainbow coloring kind of tends to show up a little bit better when you see my watermark in the upper left or upper right, excuse me. FFZ stopped working. Oh no. But my dank FFC emotes. Not like this. Newt like this. Well, I don't know. Why did Pretzel classify this under ambient? This is kind of weird. I'm using a music streaming service called pretzel.rocks, and they have a whole bunch of like Twitch friendly music on there, but I feel like their stations don't quite hit the mark sometimes as far as their categorization goes. And I'm too lazy to make a playlist because, I mean, that's a lot of music. Yeah, definitely get into the recipe metagame, Born. There's a lot of points to be gained with recipes. Just be warned, recipes need a good early game fold to be effective, right? If we just... Let me just stop this for a second, right? Recipe, like, wiggle and shake and mutate, and all recipes, by extension, work off of how it's currently, like, shaped, right? Like, if you don't make any, like, manipulations, you don't cut and move, you don't use blueprint, or you don't use any other manipulations, it's just going to take this into account, and if I just ran Deep Remix, even with medium wiggle power, I'm just going to chill here for a bit and see if it goes anywhere close to my high score, and it won't, unless you're Pika Matter, because Pika Matter is actually working on early game scripts, Godspeed, but yeah. Some solutions to previous challenges. There are solutions posted up on the Foldit wiki. You should definitely take a look at solutions to revisiting puzzles, and because those are real proteins that have already been structured. They already know the structure of those proteins. It's just that they're putting it into Foldit as a benchmark. AI learning Foldit. Well, that's a different game entirely, or not even a game at that point. That's AlphaFold. That's AlphaFold. Go ask the boys at Intel for that, or something like that. The folks at Intel, I should say. But yeah, some people post their it's in the cookbook. What? AI machine learning? Sure, I don't know. But to this day, I don't think there's actually a machine learning Lua script in our recipe books. But what was I saying? Right, the wiki. The wiki does have posted solutions, and you should check those out. There are also like older Foldit videos that are still relevant, given that the game hasn't changed too much. about techniques used for folding and what like good solutions look like. So there's that too. And if you really want to go like down a rabbit hole, like a la Wikipedia, then you can always try going to the Protein Data Bank, PDB, as we like to call it for short. And those have a whole bunch of different structures for real proteins that have been identified. Often bigger than what Foldit can handle, honestly. Because, I mean, even at like maybe 150 residues, the game starts to chug. Yeah, he learns to play Foldit. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I have not verified the accuracy of that title. I mean, I guess it's possible to learn, to go look at the source code and see if there's actually like machine learning being implemented in there, but I kind of doubt it. And it would need some sort of data set input. But it is what it is, right? But yeah, like the people who are actually doing like machine learning and protein folding, those would be like the AlphaFold people. All right. So even with our high scoring solution right now, let's see, I'm within 1,000 points of like the highest scoring person on the leaderboard. So that's what I like to call like a sort of decent striking distance. Like I'm doing pretty all right. And like we still have all these exposed regions, but as we said, we were folding this up to be a transmembrane protein, so this would be lodged in the membrane, and this would be on the outside. And so that's all fine and well in my book. At this point, we've been running Deep Remix, or actually we haven't been running Deep Remix. We were running Random Idealize earlier. Let's mix up a bit with use Quake. Quake with 50 iterations. So do that. I'll use Quake. Again, each has like a different way of, like a different specific strategy of inducing changes and looking for new high scores, but we'll do it. We'll certainly do it. Oh, there we go. Headphones are cutting out the sound again. I should really get wireless ones, but those are expensive. Those are actually expensive. Let me see here. Still up to date on questions, so that's always nice. Let's take a little bit of a break, actually, with Game Talk. How have you guys been doing so far in this global pandemic? I hope everyone's safe and sound at home, if they can be. I know medical people especially are one of the folks who can't stay home, so there's that as well. And I myself, I'm a pharmacy student, and so I still need to go to work and also report in for experiential education as well. All the less like the classroom learning we can do from home, but like as far as like things like getting a rotation for experience at a hospital and stuff, we can't really skip out on that unless there's like really compelling reasons. And so especially pharmacists, like at your local pharmacy, they're on the front lines effectively, and so please be patient with them if they're filling medications for you or a relative or a friend. So my bottle is acting up. Should wipe it down a little. Way too much water. Extended in France. Wow. Yeah, it's probably gonna be there for a while. So, what you got there? Oh, interesting. And let's see, that long loop is at the end. Thank you for coloring it in rainbow, by the way. That's actually very useful. Hmm. I do have some things to say. So, like, in the sort of green to red, or I guess green to yellow segments, there's like that really, really long loop. And loops between secondary structures tend to be like 5 segments or shorter. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That might not fold as you intend it. So, or if we were to like run it in simulation and we can actually look at the molecular level, it might not fold as the way you intended it to. So, be wary of long loops in between secondary structures. This goes for both design and prediction. Of course, do that with, I'll take into account all the context as well. It's not a one-size-fits-all sort of thing, but that's what I would say off the bat. But this isn't actually, like, again, like I said, since we have this transmembrane domain, this isn't like our cookie-cutter, like, standard prediction puzzle, too, so that's something to keep in mind as well. I wish I had a better example for those of us who are joining in and haven't seen the game before. This is a little bit of an atypical example. It still works. I still get to explain the game. Also, Josh, I see your pun, and I'm choosing not to acknowledge it in a standard manner. Well, I'm glad you're returning to hale and hearty status. What's games? Substructure loops. It's not something that you could easily snipe out just by looking at your score. Again, that's kind of knowing the science behind it, or at least learning the science behind it, right? You don't have to come in with that knowledge. Helps you to learn the metagame. And I know that the tutorial is being worked on with that as well, as far as teaching kind of like the macro game stuff versus like the micro minutia of using the tools. Much points on this recipe here, although it's gaining, like, fractions of a point, so you might have hit the ceiling, or a soft ceiling, but we'll see. It's on like 11 out of 50, so I'll just let it chill. I might not let it run all the way through, but we'll try it out. You can always restore it to best and then run a different recipe whenever we want, so there's that. Take care, Seuss. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for keeping up. I'm certainly glad that you're a part of this community, because you've done a lot. Josh, I was just explaining this. This is intentional. Another 100 points already? Very nice. Do we have any other fellow gamers in the chat right now? Do you actually play games other than a science game on Twitch or otherwise? Because I certainly do. I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. Ooh, I see. Felt like that was a little bit of counter shade. Dota 2. Oh, nice. Hey, there's a complex game right there, right? I mean, obviously it's simpler in the fact that it's, two sides fighting with rules, but God, there are so many, like, there are so many silly mechanics in Dota 2. I can appreciate them. I've played my fair share, but it's been a hot minute. Meta, please. Overwatch, always a popular choice. I played my fair share of it, got my $60 worth, but I don't really play it these days. Okay, past 16. Space Ninja, do you play Warframe, Angeleo? Because I sank a fair amount of my life into Warframe, and I'm on like an extended hiatus right now because I cannot for the life of me get into all the Railjack content. I keep procrastinating, and I haven't made a kit gun yet. I really want a kit gun. So much grind. It's impossible. I did hear about Scarlet Spear, that's true. Mario Galaxy 2, always a classic. Well, a classic now, I suppose. I remember like in its heyday, like everyone was Let's Playing it. You granted that? It's a breeze? Oh, alright. Maybe I need to get more efficient then. Probably actually look up guides and whatnot. Look up guides, do some research. Acquire knowledge. Oh wait, that's what I'm doing for this game. I'll take you up on that offer if I ever... English is hard. If I ever log back on. Thank you. Is anyone else also like exercising while we're in this this state of affairs? Because I know I am. I got my copy of Ring Fit Adventure way sooner than when it started to run out of stock because of coronavirus, and so I've been playing that with my boy Dinuna here, or Dan, and we've been grinding those levels. Ooh, Shadow of War. They low-key ripped off the Nemesis system in Warframe too. I've always like been curious about like truck simulators and whatnot. Wait, you guys don't know about like Ring Fit like selling out because of coronavirus? Is this seriously like the first you've heard of it? Because it really has. Like there's been shortened availability. People are scalping it on Amazon as they would. Yeah, no, it is hard to acquire a copy of Ring Fit Adventure right now. I guess you could get yourself a RingCon and then buy a digital copy if that works, like just separately. But I don't know how much that costs compared to it. Either way, like supply is short. Well, supply is normal, but the demand just suddenly spiked up. My phone elsewhere? Oh no, it's over here. Just work out at home. Yeah, there's always that. I actually used to use Habitica. How's it going, Pohan? Welcome in. Up on this? Yeah, no, this is the same stuff that we were folding earlier. We're already past the late game, Cynaris. Like, it started out as this, if you were wondering, and then hand folded it to be shaped like this. So yeah, we're just in middle/late game, chilling out with scripts, having a conversation. Let me try Jolter. Jolter with default settings. Hold on. You know, how immersive is like the simulation? Because like if there's one thing that is that's kind of missing, I'd imagine, is like the vibration of like the vehicle and the road. Unless you have like really, really good force feedback, which in that case I guess that works out. But like there have been studies on what people call carcolepsy, where you get sleepy in the car just because you're driving and it's kind of like moving along. So I'm wondering how immersive are those sims in those regards. You wanna see the early game? Well, I can certainly do that live. There's also, again, my my VODs on YouTube and Twitch to see what other early game stuff is there. But yeah, I can give you a small live demonstration for the early game. Let's open up the beginner puzzle real quick for coronavirus, and then change our view settings. Let's see. Okay. So different puzzle now. No objectives. Ah, oh, that means I can't use core existence. God. Okay, fine. I wish core existence was here. Anyways, in the beginner puzzle for coronavirus, you get the coronavirus spike, right? You get the binding groove right here, and then you get this starting structure to work with. This is I think this is the structure of something that would bind normally, right? With COVID-19, but it's our job as players to manipulate it into something that can bind even better than this. So normally what you would get is a straight chain or something when you're starting from scratch. So you can work with the starting structure. I'm just going to do it effectively in hard mode. In fact, let me go open up Blueprint to make this easier on myself. I think it's the last ones that need to be done here. Somewhere up in like 118, yeah, okay. As you can see, I'm making changes to in real time. I think that's it. Okay. By the way, you wouldn't normally get this to start with. I'm just trying to make it so that it's something that we would start off with. Trying to hard reset it, as it were. Okay, that's close enough. Close blueprint, selection interface, select all, mutate into isoleucine. There we go. So this is right here what you would normally start off with in a folded puzzle, is a completely straight chain, right? With basically nothing on it. It's got isoleucines everywhere, and those are just used as a sort of placeholder. And it's not even tagged as secondary structures. You would actually get it like this. It's just that for the beginner puzzle, they thought, okay, give them a starting structure so that they're not completely lost. And I think that's a good idea. But yeah, it's also kind of twisted because it was previously a beta sheet. In fact, I should make it straight, just to really sell home the point here. Where is my tweak tool? There it is. It's all the way down here. Jesus. Oh, that's right. I didn't make it entirely run sheet. Can do that. By the way, I'm using like left and right click, but it's not immediately obvious. I should probably figure out how to get that as an overlay on my screen sometime, but I am a busy man. Alright, there we go. Now that's all straight. That looked really cool. So now that's all straight, and now this is in a very, very rough drafted mode. So we're folding blind here, in effect. Are you using your keyboard for ETS? Okay. I guess the white noise, the sound is really a selling point too. You're right. Okay, so there's a couple of ways that you can construct your protein in design puzzles, right? We still have to adhere by like the protein folding rules, the normal rules, mind you. We're not making transmembrane protein. We're out in water, right? We have to make a protein that fits in this binding groove and interacts with as much of it as possible, so that we can latch on strongly. There are some bondable atoms down here, so if you turn those on, you can see that these are polars, and we can make hydrogen bonds with these if we angle our residues right. But we won't worry about that for now. We just need to make a starting structure that can fold together properly first, before we start focusing on, okay, how will it latch on here. We can keep that in mind, though, as we make it. So, one of the easiest folds to do, which is what I'm going to demonstrate live on stream, is a sort of triple helix fold. So I'm just going to assign helix and go maybe roughly around a third or so. Music's a little loud. I agree. There we go. Turn it down just a notch. That should hopefully, maybe 2. There. I swear it should be normalized, but yeah, going into blueprint mode might help for this as well, just to orient ourselves. Looks like this is the opposite end of the protein. Proteins do have 2 distinct ends, by the way. It's got a direction to it. It's not symmetrical. It's kind of like how Lego bricks, they're not symmetrical in the sense that both sides can't like interlock with each other. There's always going to be like, you know, studs and then the holes that the studs go into. So yeah. Oh, thank you, What's Games. I appreciate that. It's very gratifying to hear. Thank you. Thanks a bunch, and I hope you sleep well. Let's make a helix like that, and then maybe another roughly 3 residues, and make a helix here. I don't know if these are all the same size. They're roughly the same size. I don't really care, since this isn't really for competition here. I'm just making a demonstration. Even though we've tagged the segments as helix, they aren't actually a helix until we shape them that way. Good. Make use of the recipes and make sure you know like why these recipes are used as well. And then there are a couple of ways to go about this. You can use the building blocks that are hidden by chat right here. You can actually drag these on to your protein here and have it change in real time, just like that. I'll slap this on here too. And you can see that's one way to go about it. Another way, since I don't like this being here and being in the wrong place, I need to make some sort of core that the orange residues can hide in. So I'm going to use the cut tool, just like we did in the prediction puzzle, except now we're just working with our own protein, right? And then just bring it all around over, kind of like that. This is one of the simplest folds that you can do. Again, you can feel free to experiment with different lengths of helices, maybe even like smaller, shorter helices to like form a core rather than these big triple helix designs. But again, this is a very simple fold that I can use for demonstration. You can even use beta sheets if you want to. Those are very, very hard to wrangle, though, so just be careful and be patient with those as well. Beta sheets can get even the veterans riled up and spending a lot of time in the early hand folding phase. So anyways, yeah, so I've got this going on here. Maybe I should tilt it just a little bit more like that. See, I'm moving the camera a lot. You should definitely keep moving the camera when you fold. Time for you to go as well. All right, well, thanks a lot for tuning in, as always. I appreciate it. Let's see, turn it this way a little bit. Good night to you. Take care, Angeleo. Hopefully I'll get around to playing Warframe soon, but no promises. I'm still quite busy. Let's see. I think I will elect to make an extra loop segment out of this so that I can pull this together, make make it so that we can fuse it back together as one. And then let's move it back to where it should be here. So let's look for that binding groove again. Oop. There are no constraints on this puzzle, but there probably should. But yeah, we should move it back into this binding groove, and we can go in and go into design mode and pick our residues one by one if we wanted to. I'm too lazy for that, so I'm going to use the mass mutate tool, which you should have learned about from the tutorial. Move it alongside here. I wonder how far up I can get on the beginner leaderboards here. That would be interesting to watch, since the puzzle is technically open to everybody. Flash is created. I'm gonna rotate it a little bit, not too far. Also gonna change the music track. It's supposed to be like ambient, like chill music. Not sure what's going on with their categorization. Okay, so I think that's roughly where I want it to be. We can have Wiggle like iron out the specifics later, and then also let me click on show backbone issues. So yeah, we do have a little backbone faux pas down there, so we can fix that in just a moment. Let me remove it from the binding groove, and then I'm going to hit mass mutate here. And this is just going to automatically pick sidechains for us, so that we don't have to go and edit it ourselves. We'll have to run this again once we put it in the binding groove, but yeah. Is it always better to shake before wiggling? Depends on what you're trying to do, alright? If you are happy where the backbone is and you don't want it to change much, you should definitely shake first. And what shaking does is that it will optimize the sidechain positions to favor whatever shape you have right now. But if you're just trying to wiggle and optimize and trying to fix things without too much of a clear target, then you can probably opt to elect to wiggle first, and then find like the best backbone position first before messing with side chains and solidifying that. So it depends on what you're trying to prioritize. Alright, mutate's going to take a while, but I can tell that it's done like its first pass when this counter in the upper left corner here reaches 2. That means it'll be on iteration number 2. It'll also be obvious that we have our blues on the outside and oranges on the inside, just as a normal protein puzzle should be. We're also well into the positives now. We're out of the negative score hole, so always nice. Still waiting on this for a bit. You know, there was a recent update. It's not so recent anymore, but Shake and Wiggle actually used to take considerably less time than this to happen. But they made an update where it makes it take longer, but it's also like more likely to score better as a result. I forget the specifics, but I remember that big patch kind of messing with all the recipe creators. Alright, so we picked residues for all of the stuff here. Score or for originality? Ideally both. I guess if you had to pick, I'm gonna say score in the end, right? But ideally it's both. How can I go about responding to this? Once you get a good foothold with how scoring works and how to get good folds going, then you can start to branch out, I feel like. That isn't to say that, like, originality is not as valued. Like, that's still one of the purposes of Fold-It too, is to get designs that otherwise wouldn't be made into existence. But you do need to be grounded in some sort of rule set, in my opinion. You can also mutate with lower clashing importance. That could help ease things in as well. But yeah, just in that short period of time, we already have our backbone together. We already like mutated and picked residues. We'll probably run quick fix to fix this backbone issue later. But after that, and then like maybe some edits too, like we'll be in mid game already and running recipes. Early game doesn't necessarily have to take a long time, but it is important. And there's nothing stopping you as well from running multiple tracks or multiple solutions, right? And switching between them. There is a way to run multiple instances of Foldit on your computer as well. You can indeed multi-box with Foldit. The only problem with that is only one of those Foldit game clients can be connected to the internet, and therefore like updating the leaderboard high score. So you do have to check in periodically, save your solution, load it into your online client, and submit that if you are going to multi-box. Okay. Let's see. Move that down a little bit more. I know it's clashing, but that's fine. Actually, wait, no. I will run quick fix first. Fix the ideality stuff, then we can start to settle it in with wiggle. I think that's the play. How long is this gun? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah, I think that's the one that I extended, just to make sure that it can join properly. I think you can make multiple accounts. Is there anything in the rules for that? I'm not even sure. I never thought to really do that, honestly. Is that in the terms of service? Monka TOS? Oh no, it is against the rules. Do not actively use multiple scoring accounts simultaneously. I didn't make the rules, Sinaris. Again, this game is 12 years old, and it's kind of like been under the radar for a lot of people. And so I guess these kinds of things haven't been considered, or are using an old rationale as to why they are the way that they are. If I had to guess, like, why, I guess it's to try and give, like, I think it's started to make the competitive aspect, because we have leaderboards, right? Like, technically this is ranked play. So I think it's to try and keep that competitive aspect as pure as possible here. I'm not really sure. Or maybe it's to help ease server load, but even then I'm not really sure the justification behind that. That is something to bring up with Josh and to see, or if with maybe with J Flat to figure it out. Well, no, I'm technically playing against everyone else on the leaderboard here. Technically speaking. Smurfing. I guess it just makes it harder to manage. If you're looking for a good answer, let me just be straight with you. I don't have one. Like, you've got me there, Sinaris. I don't know if... Is Josh still here? Did he leave? Is he listening in on this, or is he zoning out? Do you have any thoughts on this? Oh yeah, there's that. There is that. See, Meta's into game design. Hey, thanks for the follow. But yeah, again, like let me just reiterate too that again, Foldit has effectively the resources of an indie game, so it's and they have to work around the fact that they have to like wrestle with Rosetta as a science engine, right? It's very hard to go from science engine to game engine, so there's that aspect. Well, okay, like, I wouldn't want to look at a leaderboard and just see, like, the times of, like, the same person 3 times in a row. You know? Like, I want to see the leaderboard with, you know, like, everybody involved and see, like, what their gaps are, I guess, is something like that. But yeah, competitive integrity is what I was going for, like to keep the competition aspect like pure, but I wasn't really sure how to word it. Okay, move that down. It should hold, and it does. I will say, Sonaris, even though you can multi-box with only one account online, I think if they had the resources, I'm not one of the developers of this game, but I think they would make it so that you could multi-box effectively, but I don't think there's enough dev resources right now to like do that and keep on top of the science puzzles being uploaded on a regular basis right now. So there's that. And again, this game's been around for 12 years, but we're on like academic development time here. So I would love to see Foldit like go like really, really huge, right? But we have to be grounded in realism to make that happen, because there's a lot to consider here that doesn't come up in standard game development, if that makes sense. Like, for example, I think one of the big, a couple of other big points that people seem to keep bringing up is, why isn't this game in VR, and why isn't this game open source? For the open source part, it is super, super complicated. The long and short of it is that Rosetta is a licensed product, right? So you can't just, open source the macro modeling engine when we're paying a license for that, and there's probably some stuff going on in there. I hear that there's been talks, but I haven't heard anything like specific about it. So long and short of it, no open source. We can't make it happen like with the snap of our fingers here, unfortunately. As far as why it's not in VR, again, developer time and resources. We need to keep this the science puzzles coming, right? And then development is effectively just a one-person job in the form of a graduate student. So again, there are more pressing matters to attend to, and not everything can be like we have the problem with scarcity here. And it's fun to think. It is fun to think about What's this you hear about multiboxing? Yeah, no, Cynaris was like wondering why we can't have multiple clients for the same account connected at the same time running different solution tracks. Instead, we have to like multi-box with like the other clients offline and only one client online, and we can't make multiple accounts to because that's directly against the community rules posted up on the website. No, like as far as I know, multi-boxing, you can only connect to the servers with one account or with one client, and then the rest have to be offline. That's the last time the last time I looked into it, and I think that's still probably what it says on the Foldit wiki. Let's see if Loci changed it. Smurfing's not competitively fair. Yeah, he was going into that earlier about like, I mean, you know, isn't the whole point try to get more solutions, but we're stifling diversity. But there is the competition going on. To chat with one box, not sure about the server. Okay. Let's see. I could have sworn there was like an article on the Foldit wiki on how to use multiple clients. Translating Foldit jargon, use it at home, online resources. Where is it? Multiple Foldit clients. There you go. See, it's the way that it handles leaderboard stuff is what I'm unclear about. If we can, then that's good news. Maybe I've been misrepresenting that. My apologies, Cynaris, but let's see. I'm surprised we don't have more documentation on this, because you'd think this is like something that people do more often than not. Oh, today I learned. Why isn't there a 64-bit client? Developer resources. Rosetta said they would require more proof of desire for 64-bit clients. Today I learned. Trying to sync with both boxes. Yeah, I think you would have to use multiple tracks. That would make sense. So what? Oh, this is like the middle of it. Okay, whatever. Skip song. What was I even doing? I've been getting sidetracked here. I had this going on. Hold on, what's my credit best? My credit best is not even in the binding group, so I need to fix that. Oh, and shake is gonna take forever. That's true. Wiggle it is. Let's see, 12 beat 22. Actually, wiggle first, then mutate on like 80%. I will say, at the end of the day, even with limited resources, even with all the hiccups and just like shortcomings that this game might have, right? It's pretty remarkable that we've been able to get this far with what we have. That I will say, like, very, very upfront. I'm still proud of what we can actually achieve, even with the limitations involved. And as such, I don't think it's worth just, you know, writing off Folded. It's like, they're understaffed, they don't have as much resources. Like, we can still do quite a bit. Hey, that's still remarkable. I think a lot of people will have plenty of remarks about the integrity of the toothpicks. Back to Dota. Well, I will say, if you are looking for a side project that still wants to help with like coronavirus and whatnot, do check out Folding at Home and Rosetta at Home. Rosetta at Home is the sister project to Foldit, using the same engine. Folding at Home is not run by Foldit, and it's not using the Rosetta engine, but they're doing something similar. Basically, you can lend your spare computer power to scientists running algorithmic simulations and other sorts of computational stuff that they need to have done, but don't have the computers for, so they crowdsource it. And you never know until you try. Obviously, I've been playing for 2.5 years, and I don't think I've done much in the way of like actually useful like scientific folds and results. Like, I've gotten sort of competitive on the leaderboard, but at the very least I can say that I've helped contribute to this game in my own way, and that is to stream it, to make it accessible, to make it visible, and that's the way that I choose to see it. So also playing this game actually helped me get into pharmacy school, so there's that. That's a story and a half. So alright, let us stabilize this here. Again, triple helix, very popular, very easily folded solution. Bring it back up to full. And there's like a few other tricks here, but at this point I would be exiting late game and looking for recipes to use to find different score gains. But it's binding nice. It's binding nicely. There's some good hydrophobic interactions here. I think I would change maybe a residue here to start hydrogen bonding down there, but I'm not going to do that in the course of this stream. I'm going to switch back to the active puzzle. Well, yeah, I guess there are different methods that different players use, and again, I'm more of a fan of using cut and move rather than using the building blocks on the blueprint tool. But you're free to do to get to whatever your solution is with whatever you have. So there's that. I know last round, I don't think I was one of the designs that got into lab testing, but I know for coronavirus round 3, or was it round 3 or round 4? No, round 3. I ended up being ranked 27 for the final score there. So I've still got the chops. I still know what recipes to run and whatnot. But if anything, like I'm kind of like the first gym leader, as I've mentioned before. I'm like the first gym leader that you run into on the way to Foldit greatness. Like all of the rest of the veterans who've been playing this for way longer than I have, they know how to more efficiently use their time and fold like better solutions, since they've seen better. They've naturally done, more things and whatnot. Absolutely random. The voids are still there, but still top 110. Yeah, no, like they're the scoring function is not like I'm gonna say this. Because of how many degrees of freedom that you have, like, it's a sandbox game, right? There's no one set solution. Unlike the tutorials here. Well, even the tutorials have no one set solution, but there's no one set solution for any, like, science when you think about it, right? When we're doing experiments, like, we don't know what's going to happen, so that's why we're trying to experiment with. and then we get our results, we write down what actually happened, and then we try it again to see if we can reproduce it. So yes, there are point penalties for voids. I think that's the packing. I think that's related to the packing score category in a score breakdown. You don't have to like eliminate all the voids, but it's generally best practice to not have too many, because the idea with voids is that that's space where water molecules might become trapped and they want to get out. They don't want to like spend time in the hydrophobic core since they're water, right? And then the hydrophobic core doesn't want to interact with water, so it has to like expel it some way, somehow. And so the voids are just an indicator of, hey, since there's a space here and it's not accounted for, you might not see the actual protein fold into this exact shape if you were to bring it into real life. That's the best way I can describe it, I think. Still can't crack that high score. I could try to branch off from here and make a different solution. In fact, I wonder if... No, but this like naturally folded downwards, so I wouldn't be doing myself any favors with that. I could try to wrap this towards the other side again, see if that makes it any better. Please, and then rubber band here. And stabilize. Okay, that kind of works. Clashes? Okay, so... yes, they do represent stuff colliding into each other. Like, in real life, we don't have this, right? We don't have no clip. We can't clip into each other, right? That's why clashes exist. It's just saying that things are too close, you can't have them exist in the same place at the same time. And so that's why clash clearing is a thing. Unfreeze, global wiggle. Using it. I should probably also run quick fix as well. That's a thing. Maybe I'll get a score recovery. I guess this is hydrophobic, so this would make sense if it was facing downwards. Now that's making hydrogen bonds, so that stabilizes there. So the yellow balls show thing like okay, hold on, let me go back into hydro coloring. So the side chains, right? They can either be hydrophobic or hydrophilic, so water loving or water fearing. And generally in Fold It, not this specific puzzle, but generally in Fold It, you want to hide these in the inside so that the hydrophilics can stay on the outside and guard against it. But if they're outside, then they're tagged as exposed here. So you're supposed to bury them. They're also like other view modes. I'll get into that in a second. And so generally you want to have less of these, but because I know the game can't account for this, but because I think that this structure has is a transmembrane protein, it needs all of the orange side chains on the outside. So it's going to be tagged as such, but I'm okay with this. Even if it's not going to get me a high score or maybe like a lower score, just because this is what I think scientifically might happen. Again, dev resources are limited, and there's a whole lot under the hood that I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of. You know, this game can help you definitely learn the biochemistry behind it. Me personally, I actually didn't I tried this game in high school, but I didn't like get really serious into playing it until I took a biochemistry course and started playing this game alongside my biochemistry course and learning about proteins alongside it. That really helped me, both in the class and obviously now. Let's see, what was I doing? Oh yeah, quick fix. And I can also, let's see, do I have voids toggled on? Okay, I do have a couple of voids. So if we go into sphere view, this is like a different representation of what's going on. This is the electron cloud, as it were, of all of the atoms and the space that it sort of takes up. And so you can kind of see the voids are more obvious in sphere mode, and you can see how the water can maybe sort of leak in. Well, with our player base, at least, right? The selection of like share to scientists, right? So if I hit save right now, and I name this like scientist submission, and then I go to my open share solutions, I can click this and then click upload for scientists, and this will be among the solution sets that scientists will manually review as well, along with their mass data review of the leaderboards. Generally speaking, the higher the leaderboard, like the more stable your fold is, and the more likely it is to take that shape, right? But if you have like a weird quirk, or you can justify it and you can put it in like, say, like the solution description, then, you know, it's absolutely worth it, at least like putting it up there so that the scientists can choose to review it or not, right? See, going back to cartoon view. Again, cartoon view here is like what you normally see. This is kind of like the default view. It's a lot easier to work with, but you know, there are other ways to look at it, just like sphere view here, or if you want like all of the different like atomic bond angles and you want to like look in and drill deep and look at the backbone, making its hydrogen bonds, you can use stick view here and see the hydrogen bonds on like the helices that we made. It doesn't actually look like a fat helix. It actually has the atoms lining up and making hydrogen bonds there. In fact, if we go to CPK and turn off the frills here, now you can see all the atoms in the protein. They have a standardized color. Red is oxygen, white is hydrogen, gray or black is carbon. Lots of carbon, obviously. It's organic chemistry. Yellow is sulfur, blue is nitrogen. There's a lot going on under the hood. Does this solution work better? That's probably wise, because this methionine is probably being packed well, and so that's why the game is considering it that way. Let's see. I guess we can just skip on to banded worm pairs. I'm not opposed to doing that. Oh, I should probably unfreeze though. That would always help. Let's see. I think I've also ran through like most of my other refinements as well. But you know what, guys? It is 4 o'clock, and I am thoroughly satisfied with the headway that we've made today. So I think I'm gonna call it for Fold It. Let's see. Let me check on my other obligations here, so I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. Yuji, you just caught me at the tail end of the Fold It segment, though. I'm trying to figure out if I have it in me to stream another game while I let this run in the background. Because, again, I can just let the recipes run to refine something that I've put together in the early game, and that's kind of like sort of half of the scoreboard meta, is to let these recipes run and find things. Well, you entered chat at a very late moment, Ryuji. What? I can't tell if you're lurking or not. I don't have the receipts. Top tier lurking. You're one to talk, Meta. Mr. I'm going to watch every stream ever. Those are my tabs. Put my smartwatch back on. It is just about Ring Fit time. Do you guys want to see video game fitness after Fold It here? You're in a video conference or class. What are you doing tuning into my Twitch channel, you dingus? I appreciate the viewership nonetheless, though. The puzzle just ended. I think that is the case, yes. Hold on. Do we have a new... Let's see. Oh, right! You're right! I think I have my next stream puzzle to play, because it is round 5, baby. Yeah, they just took down the symmetric timer design, which I'm glad because symmetric timer design is hard. Round 5. Oh my! What have we here? Let's read the flavor text for this together. Actually, hold on. Let's see. Puzzle menu. Let's see, its design. The starting structure is a solution designed by SP Vincent in round 2. The solution makes an excellent interface with the target, but we're concerned that the binder might not fold. Oh, okay. Our prediction suggests that the 2 sheets in this solution will not fold up as designed. And the rest of this is flavor text. Backbone and most of the side chains are completely frozen. Oh wait, no, that's just the spike protein. Well, let's take a look at this. Are there constraints? Please tell me there are constraints. There are not constraints. What's going on here? Well, it doesn't matter that there's no constraints because we already have a really good binding interface. It's just that this is the problem point. Is this the end of the protein? Let me just check it in rainbow color. Oh wait, rainbow is useless on, well, it's not completely useless on coronavirus. It is almost Ring Fit time, you're right. Might as well do it on stream. I do need to take a break though, before doing so. Okay, so it's these 2 sheets that are the problem. Okay, so I guess we can opt to make helices or elsewise, or do whatever. Where's this? Oh, okay, it's attached over here. 1, 2, 3. That's probably an ideal loop. So maybe make a quad helix core, or... Heck, we could just make it all sheets if we wanted to. Just like go sheet over here. Hey, if it doesn't work and you tell someone that it doesn't work, that's still science. I'll say that much. We'll save this for next stream though. I'm gonna close out the Fold It segment now, and I think what I'll do is I will play my outro here to cut the VOD for YouTube, and then when I come back from getting more water, going to the bathroom, and setting up, because I think I need to grab my wireless earbuds. Then maybe we can play some Ring Fit on stream. How's that? Let's play some Nintendo video games, because they are very fun for a lot of people. Not all people. Doesn't have to be. Is it okay though that like I don't go on voice chat for this, because I do have stream. And I don't want to like sound balance everything right now. Too much trouble for that. I do need to like switch sound devices though. So, because whenever I switch sound devices, my outro doesn't play properly. But you know what? Let's play the outro now for Fold It. All right, guys. So If you guys were just here for Folded, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll fold the next round next stream, so keep your eyes out for that. I haven't scheduled it just yet, but please, if you guys want to try the game out for yourself, I know it's a very hard game to get into, but the game is free to play. You can go visit fold.it. I'll get that command up in chat. There you go. And you can help contribute to real coronavirus research by playing the game. I should also note that Foldit does have a community Discord as well, and so if you're looking for help, that's a great place to find it besides game chat, global game chat. And yeah, I will see you guys there. If you're watching on YouTube, then come find me on Twitter or Discord. My details are posted. And yeah, please try it out. And even if it's not for you, there are other ways you can help too. So check out Folding at Home or Rosetta at Home. Those are also perfectly viable outlets to help as well.